My friend Ed Jackson, he was a professional rugby player. He broke his neck diving into a swimming pool, was unable to move anything from his neck down for the first 7 days, and now is able to do quite a lot, but still has significant quadriplegic issues. Ed has just climbed Mount Toubkal, which is the highest mountain in the Atlas. And he's been out to the Alps climbing with Leo Holding, one of Britain's top climbers. Ed's doing astonishing things. He's been up a 6,000-meter mountain in Nepal. He's almost summited a 7,000-meter mountain. And Ed's got quite significant motor issues and sensation issues and is still doing this stuff. So when you've got the determination, the perseverance, some of the physical capacity as well, it's really quite remarkable what you're able to achieve.
That's insane. Very inspiring for someone who doesn't have these issues. That they can probably definitely go and do these things.
Definitely. So much of it's in the head. We always talk about top 2 inches. And that's the same for so many things. When it comes to adventure sport, the most important part is the top 2 inches. If your head's in the right place, if you're calm enough, you're confident enough, you're likely to be able to succeed. My issue really is not about whether or not I can do something. It's just coming to terms with the fact that to do these things, I have to do them more slowly than before. So I used to be very quick in the mountains and loved being quick. I now am slower just because my calves don't really work. I can't stand on one toe at a time. So I don't have propulsion. So I just have to accept the fact that I'm slower and my balance isn't as good. I can still do all these things, just at a slightly lower level than I used to. And that's just for me to deal with. And it's quite interesting. After the time when I scratched my femur, I went up Snowdon that week on crutches. And I got so many props. Here you are, you're hobbling up Snowdon with an obviously fucked leg, and got to the summit. And basically everyone coming down was wanting to high five you, which is difficult when you're using 2 crutches. But everyone wanted to high five you and get so much props. Whereas now, getting up Snowdon, which I have done since my accident, is more complicated. When you're on crutches, you're conspicuously doing something really hard. Whereas now I'm not. People look at me and they're just like, I'm climbing a mountain with a spinal cord injury. And so it's funny, but that's all in your head. I should be getting kudos for climbing this with a spinal cord injury, and just suck it up and go for it.
Well, I had to run around Glastonbury with crutches on, and definitely had a lot of people be like, wow, which is kind of nice. But that's something about like the visual side does make things a lot easier compared to just being internal, which, yeah, kind of related. I think when we talk about like sort of like mental health divergence and differences that people have on stuff, you don't necessarily notice how much more difficult some things are for some people compared to others. It's just kind of fascinating. I've really found speaking a difficult thing to get to terms with, for example, whereas most people seem to be quite good at it. So I kind of constantly like, oh my God, I'm actually having good conversations with people in public. It's very nice for me. Whereas most people just kind of do these things, but we all have our own battles.
I'm married to someone that's not naturally conversational. And it's interesting. I think she sometimes looks at me as like, how have you managed to have a conversation with someone for an hour about the same thing? Some things are natural to some and not to others. Speaking is one of those things that some people have the gift of the gab and others just don't.
Yeah, I definitely panic a lot sometimes. And I'm just like, words, come on. That must be in there somewhere. It's really hard. But yeah, so how are you in terms of going for this next challenge around like the ice cap one? Because you're doing that with 2 other people that also have spinal injuries. Are you guys not worried that there should be someone there that doesn't have a spinal injury, or is that kind of the point?
No, I'm pretty confident that we'll be fine. We're very likely to have a film crew in the vicinity. They'll drop in every now and then. They're likely to have a look at what we're up to. Ed Jackson is coming with me. Ed is an amazingly capable man, runs this charity called Millimeters to Mountains. And he's gone from, as I said, not being able to move at all to climbing up mountains himself. Ed has quite a few issues with temperature regulation, so that'll be interesting to monitor, especially on somewhere so cold. He spent time at 6,500 meters in the ball, which is freaking cold. So he understands how to manage that. I'll be interested to see how Ed gets on, especially with temperature and some of the physical aspects. And then the third friend that we're doing this with is Darren Edwards. He's an amazing guy who was a climber, a mountaineer, and he was training to be in the Territorial Special Forces when he had a climbing accident and broke his spine in a very, very serious way, way worse than mine. He's a complete paraplegic. He's got his top set of abs and then nothing beneath that. So he pressed his legs, he couldn't feel a thing. So Darren is in a wheelchair, but Darren is another astonishingly capable individual. Earlier this year, he went from Land's End to John O'Groats, and he's gone across the Channel in a rowboat. Later this year, he's doing 7 marathons, 7 continents, 7 days, which includes Antarctica. And he's very, very determined, man.
The logistics of that is insane before you even get into the health complications. Crikey.
Totally. And so the Antarctic aspect of that, he's going to have to do on some kind of device which enables him to travel across snow and ice. And that might end up being like a hand bike trike mechanism, or basically a ski polk that you use with poles. With Darren coming across the Vatnajokull ice cap, the complications for him are bladder and bowel management, like me and Ed, temperature management as well, because of course he can't really regulate temperature in his lower body, but then also the fact that he's on a chair. We've got 3 guys, very physical, that all had that stripped away from them by an accident, who are now getting together to do a big exhibition again for themselves, but then also to raise money and awareness for spinal cord injuries. Because I don't want people that have a spinal cord injury to feel that that's the end of their life. There's so many great things you can do. There's a guy that's just gone up Kilimanjaro in a wheelchair. That's freaking insane. There's so many great things you can do, but most people don't necessarily realize that that means them too. When you're lying in bed and you're feeling despondent, that actually, no, these guys were there in the same position not that long ago, and here they are rocking across ice caps in Iceland. I really want that to have a motivational impact for people with spinal cord injuries or any other form of disability, but then also the mental health aspect as well, because all of us have had to deal with having a central part of our identity taken away and then rebuilding that piece by piece and coming to terms with that new identity and what that means for us as well. So I wanted to have these kind of multifaceted impacts on people, as well as just being a great thing for 3 mates to do together and something nice and adventurous.
Yeah, that's huge. I'm really looking forward to hearing how that goes, and hope the film crew get to make some cool things from that as well.
I'm sure they will. They're very good.